Legally Yours came about in 2014 and we were a little bit ahead of our time. What we were seeing was trends overseas in relation to this sort of fixed fee and different pricing model coming along with how people were accessing legal services. And what we knew back then and what we still know today is that, you know, they say something like 70% of people who have legal needs actually don't go to a lawyer. So they would rather ask an accountant, a real estate agent, someone at the dog park, their mum, their dad, and not a lawyer. And so we were really interested and curious around why, because we've got, for the legal industry, an inaccessibility problem. And so I literally went on a quest to ask every single person down the street. We did Vox Pops, we researched, we analysed questionnaires, the whole thing. And three things became really clear of the barriers. So one was absolutely price point. So everyone had the story of my friend went to a lawyer and then they got this invoice and they didn't know what it was for and then they were paying thousands and thousands of dollars and, you know, they just stopped going. So we knew that there was a pricing problem in terms of not necessarily the price itself, but the way it was communicated to clients.
And it's almost a two-phase problem because it's a pricing problem, but it's also that trust problem. If it's not a fixed price, I don't trust that. Or how do I know if it took X amount of time? For all I know, you're using a template or something you've already done for someone years and years ago. And the fear of, if this drags out, I'm going to have to spend so much money because this lawyer can just charge me whatever they want. I'm at their mercy almost.
Well, you kind of are. And the thing is that as lawyers, and I'm a non-practicing, which I like to joke makes me an expert, but what it really means is that I no longer practice as a lawyer, so I don't deliver legal services, but I'm legally qualified. But at no point in our degree, no point in our training as a young lawyer, and no point really when we're going through our legal careers are we really taught about what our value is. We taught how to record time. And we taught how
this is how you bill people.
We taught how to log billable units and billable hours. But at no point are we asked to actually think, what is our value? And so the problem with that is that a relationship becomes very toxic when the client realises that every time they call you or they speak to you or you ask for something photocopied.
Or they think about you.
Or they think about you. They're being charged. And so therefore the relationship between the client and the lawyer, which should be built on trust, like you say, all of a sudden becomes, I'm not speaking to my lawyer, I'm shutting down, this is out of control, I don't want to do it anymore, and they run away. And I actually really get that. So we knew whatever we built back in those early days, we had to get over that fear in the communication and the pricing. And so fixed fee and value-based pricing. So upfront communication of what value lawyers are providing for their clients and, you know, that clear kind of figure around the price solves that problem.
Your biggest barrier to anything is the education and because you're almost having to change an industry. That it sounds, even though what you're doing is better, it's still hard to make people change, whether it be lawyers or clients.
And there was two prongs to that because we had to change, and this is something I didn't anticipate as being as difficult. I thought that I could go out to the legal profession and say, hey, did you know 70% of people who have legal needs don't access lawyers? Do you want some of that market? Do you want some of that business? We can deliver it to you. This is what they want. And they'd do it.
That's actually a great sales pitch
right?
too.
This is what they'd say. No, that's not the way we do things. We don't do things that way. So it's not broken. Clients love it when I send them surprise invoices. And when I said, how do you know that they love it? Oh, because they pay them. I said, oh, so interesting. So I had really, I did not anticipate that lawyers didn't value business, extra business. And I guess I didn't fully appreciate how non-commercially minded they were as an industry overall. The other thing that I didn't anticipate was how accepting clients were of that system. So often I go out and speak to clients and I'd say, hey, would you go to a lawyer that told you up front what they were going to charge? And they'd say, oh, yeah, absolutely, but it must be so hard for them because how do they know and how about the other side? How do they know how they're going to react? It must be really hard for lawyers to put, you know, parameters around their costs. And I used to say, if a lawyer's experienced enough, they know what the process is, they know how it's going to go, and they can actually fix their price and take some of that risk with you to show you that they're in partnership with you on that matter. And so having to educate clients around you can ask for more.
You know who you're like? You're like the guy from the movie The Big Short that discovers the housing market's about to collapse. And, you know, he's first and no one believes. He's like, nah, you're a crackhead. No, the housing market is fine. It's never collapsed in, you know, the way it's doing it is fine. The way it's fine and everyone's getting paid. And then bang, that's you.
Did you just call me a crackhead? No. Hold on. No, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Yeah, absolutely.
But you're seeing something obvious. Like you went, because the first thing you said when you started speaking was I went into the market myself and I spoke to everyone and I was hearing what people saying. Do you remember, I don't know if you watched the movie, but they go to the mortgage brokers and they go to the people that are renting their houses and they actually go into the market and they're like, this is crazy. How has no one seen this? How is the balance between motherhood and business operations?
Not easy.
Yeah, I can't imagine that being easy.
Not easy. But we manage.
What are lessons you've kind of taken from this experience that I guess other women and other parents in general, I guess, can use?
I mean, just one for me. I think there's a recognition of let go, and I think there's also an acceptance that neither role, whether it's business ownership or being a parent, kind of end. So then they're not mutually exclusive. And I have tried.
Do merge a lot.
I have tried to tell my children, you know, when mum wears these type of clothes, she's off limits, and just never happens. So I think that, you know, one of the beautiful things about being in business partnership with Bianca is that we don't have to have those conversations about the crossover.
But I think there's also an element of also having an understanding that, you know, Karen's got children of the school age. I would never ever ask her to hold a meeting at a particular time during the day because ultimately she has, you know, responsibilities that she has to take her kids to school or pick them up, or, you know, they've got activities or whatever it might be. So I think it's just having that really beautiful mutual understanding of what each other's positions are, also not just in the business front but also at home.
Being that role model for, you know, I've got a beautiful 12-year-old Evie who had to, in her grade 6 year last year, write what she wanted to be. And lots of people in her class were like doctor or a lawyer, and she wrote entrepreneur, and I just was like, oh my God,
yeah,
that's amazing. And she always comes up with business ideas. And, you know, I just think that there was a period in my life where I was a full-time mum, having the kids so close together. And
how many kids?
4 kids. So I was a full-time mum for a number of years, and I still remember it must have been my son who was in kinder and had to fill out a form or something or write something out about his family, and he wrote, my dad's a boss and my mum vacuums. And I remember getting that and just going, oh God, okay, we've got some really, really thwarted kind of gender things happening. And so I love the fact that, you know, I get to show in particular my daughters that you can be a mum, you can be a business lady, you can, you know, be an entrepreneur. And I mean, I would never say you can have it all, but you can certainly have bits and pieces together. And look, our lives are chaotic and they're sometimes majorly stressful, but there's a lot of joy and there's a lot of excitement in it